Let me ask you something about 2024. Yes, by the way, I'm back. Yes, I've missed you terribly. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere now. Let's do 2024 together. Anyway, yes. Let's talk about it, though. We have some big dates coming up. I'm sure you're already well aware of them. We have the Iowa caucuses on the 15th. That's for the Republican primary. What are the stakes there? Well, they're huge. At least if you're Ron DeSantis, you need to win that. If you don't, it might be over. So that's a big one. If you're a Ron DeSantis supporter, you already know that. If you're a Trump supporter, you know that. Let's finish him off. Okay, all right, we got that. The New Hampshire's right after. Super Tuesday is right around the corner. That's March 5th. These are big dates coming. November, of course, the general election, all these things. But let's set all that aside for a minute. Set all that aside. And we'll deal with all kinds of election stuff this year. It is an election year. Right? It's not something we're going to ignore. But let me set that aside. Let me ask you something. And I want you to be honest with yourself. Let me ask you this. 2024, here we are at the very beginning of it. We have a whole lot of days left in it, pretty much the entire year. Are you going to be able to have a good year if the elections don't go the way you want them? Primary and general. And let me preface this by saying, I know you're into the election and that it's really important to you. I am guilty as charged. I get way too into the elections. When they go our way, I get way too happy for about 48 hours. When they don't go our way, I get way too low for about the next 48 hours. I'm guilty. I'm pointing at me here. But is your 2024, is the success of your 2024 going to be completely dependent on whether or not Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis win the White House? It shouldn't. You know that, right? And I'm not saying they're going to lose. We'll deal with that another time. But and I'm talking to myself, this is a conversation I've had with myself for the last week when I was thinking about 2024. We political people, we care about it because it matters, and it does matter, and it is important. But we put too much on it, and we put too much on things that are so out of our control. Let's just do this. You and me. I'm really talking to myself here, but I'd love it if you join me. Let's make sure no matter what, 2024 is a success regardless of the electoral outcome. Besides, as you know, things haven't changed. Doesn't matter if we do win the White House at the end of 2024 with whoever your preferred guy is. We still have decades of victories before we will ever finally defeat the communists. Decades. Not victories for the White House. Those are just part of it. Local elections, state elections. Are you digging into that yet? Hey, it's not too late. Now's the time to dig in. I just gave you dates for the general election and for the primary election nationally. How many local elections will we miss? Because we're still worried about, oh my gosh, Trump, DeSantis. Are we going to miss that city council election that means so much more? The school board election? Or are we going to focus and become activists? Let's focus and become activists this year, right? Now, as far as what 2024 is going to bring for the general, I don't know. I know you saw the news about Maine's Secretary of State following on the heels of Colorado's Secretary of State removing Trump's name off the ballot. Jesse, that's unjust. I got that. You got that. We all know it's unjust. Let's not focus on that. There's going to be more of it. I'm not telling you they're going to be successful in the end. You can make that determination on your own. But I am telling you this, there's going to be a lot more of that in 2024. What do I mean by that? Horrific, unjust things that are right in your face that make you turn to your wife or your husband or your buddy at a party and say, oh my gosh, this country's finished. There are going to be a lot of things that happen in 2024 that make you say that. Nevertheless, we keep going. And here's the real battle we have to fight. Yes, we are anti-communists now and always, and we will always fight the communists first. That has to be priority number one, always. Stop the communist demonic agenda. But we can't do that unless we start preparing ourselves, unless we change ourselves, meaning the GOP as a party. I'm not talking about you personally. Maybe you need to change, maybe you don't. It's not my business. But the GOP does. Right now, like, we have this huge, scary monster in the ring. We'll call the monster communism. He will eat all, he will destroy all, he will consume all, because that's what communism has always done. And so we need a fighter to jump in that ring and go fight for us. And so we look at the GOP and we say, hey, get out there, guys, go get him. And we have this weak, pathetic little girl with tiny wrists, and we're kicking her into the ring and saying, beat the communists. And then we wonder why they're never defeated. Mike DeWine's getting all kinds of heat in Ohio. He's a red state governor in Ohio. What's he getting heat for? Well, he was presented with a bill that said, dudes can't continue to beat up women on the sports field by pretending to be their women. It's a basic bill. It's very simple. Very simple, yes. He said no. He rejected it. Everyone's mad at Mike DeWine. Mad at Mike DeWine? Why are you mad at Mike DeWine? Be mad at the GOP voters in Ohio. I don't know what you want me to tell you. Mike DeWine during COVID was a horrific tyrant. He was Andrew Cuomo light. I know, my entire family's in Ohio. I was back and forth several times. You can open this, you have to close this, do that, wear a mask, get your triple vax. Mike DeWine was a card-carrying, tyrant, communist piece of trash during COVID. That was in 2020. In the year 2022, Mike DeWine was up for re-election in a primary election and won that primary election by over 200,000 votes. Now, 15 minutes later, he decides to stop the tranny in sports thing, and everyone's mad. Go find a mirror, Ohio voters. If we don't change the GOP primary voter, we cannot save the country. If the GOP primary voter, if Norm and Norma are going to continue to, I saw Mike once at our local Republican women's breakfast, and he was so nice. I'll vote for him again. If we don't stop that idiocy, that lunacy, I need to vote for Lindsey Graham again. I saw him on Fox News last night. If we can't stop the idiots in our party, the idiots in our base from voting on who the TV tells them to vote for, it's over, isn't it? That little girl is going to keep running out there and she's going to keep getting beaten up by the monster. And so, look, let me spoil something for you as long as we're dishing out some hard truths here in 2024. This guy is still president of the United States.
I'm curious, what sort of holiday foods have you been enjoying over the last few days?
Well, I've been eating everything that's put in front of me. I've been eating pasta, which I love. Yeah. Eating a lot of chicken Parmesan. I've been eating all Italian foods, basically.
And ice cream.
And ice cream, chocolate chip ice cream.
Anyway, he's still president. And he's going to remain president of the United States. Kevin McCarthy is now officially gone. Bill Johnson retiring. We kicked George Santos out. The Republican majority in the House is officially about that big. Joe Biden's not going anywhere. And even if the GOP had a 100-seat majority, I think we all know, because it's that little girl in the ring with the monster, they would find a way to wuss out and screw it up anyway. We have got to start focusing on primary elections and changing the GOP. You know how we do this? You voted for this thing when we talk about urban Democrat voters? There is something urban Democrat voters and GOP primary voters have in common. They get exactly what they deserve.